Hello, my fellow loaves, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, dividends. I'm going to review how much I received in dividends this year and look ahead to my projections for 2022. Let's get straight into this chart, which shows the annual dividends for 2020 and 2021, as well as the projected dividends for 2022. So you can see last year's amount was just over $1,100, and this year it's just over $1,700. That 51% increase is massive, and I have to say I'm really happy with how the dividend amount has grown this year. Looking ahead to 2022, there's going to be a 46% increase, which will break past the $2,000 mark. That's amazing considering I won't even have to do anything to earn this raise. Those were the top line numbers. In the rest of this video, I'm going to break down these figures, do a deeper dive into the individual stocks in my portfolio, talk about how many additional shares I've received via drips, and finally look ahead to some projections and goals in 2022. There are timestamps to each of these chapters in the description. Feel free to jump to any segment you like or just watch all the way through. Okay, so let's break down the different components of this year's annual dividend figure compared to last year's. First, we have dividends from my employer's shares. I participate in my company's share purchase program, and the dividend is actually pretty healthy at about 3.6%. There was a slight drop in the payout due to some COVID regulations, but those have been reinstated and should be fine for 2022. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what my company's stock price is right now. I just keep contributing to the share purchase program and let the dividends roll in. Next, are dividends from our ETF holdings. There's a little bit of a jump here because we invested in a REIT ETF, which has a yield of about 4.6%. I'm not going to discuss these too much because whatever the ETFs pay out, they just pay out. The whole point is for us to hold on to them and to participate in the overall market movement. Next up is the interesting portion, my individual stock holdings. Taking a look back to 2020, I only had Walgreens in my portfolio, and even then, I only received one dividend payout. The total amount of dividends received in 2021 for Walgreens was just under $385, and all that was automatically reinvested to buy just over 5 additional shares, so I'm going to be starting 2022 with 206 shares, roughly, rounded down. And that's what I really love about dividend investing. Watching your dividends buy you more shares, which then pays you more dividends, which then buys more shares. Compounding is awesome. My new purchases for the year were Clorox and 3M. I wanted to pick up dividend stocks early in the year to start getting dividend payouts as soon as possible. But because I only picked them up in September, I only got one dividend payment for each of these holdings, which translated to about half an additional share bought through reinvesting dividends. By the way, the reason for me only buying shares late in the year isn't so much a result of trying to time the market, but because I wanted to get a good entry price by selling options. I have a blog post in the description below that explains how I bought my 100 shares of Clorox at a $2,600 discount. So going ahead, with these number of shares going into 2022, at current dividend levels, I'm looking to receive about $466 for Clorox, $595 for 3M, and $393 for Walgreens. Bringing back the chart, 2022's dividends look pretty healthy with a projected 46% increase. I kept the dividends from my company and ETFs constant because frankly, I have no idea what they're going to do next year. But even with no raises there, you can see the huge impact from getting a full year's worth of dividends from Clorox and 3M. Even if nothing changes, getting a full year's payout from these stocks will more than double 2022's dividends coming from individual stocks. But of course, things are going to change. First, the reason why many people like investing in companies like these is because they have a great track record of raising their dividends each and every year. All three companies are on the Dividend Aristocrat list, which is a list of companies that have raised dividends annually for more than 25 years in a row. As of 2021, there are only 65 stocks on this list. Both Clorox and Walgreens have raised their dividend for 45 years and 3M for an amazing 63 years. Barring some major catastrophic event in the world, this trend should hopefully continue for 2022. The second change will come in the form of reinvesting dividends to buy more shares. Even though the numbers aren't huge, they'll snowball and make an impact over time. I'm actually quite looking forward to reviewing these numbers next December to see how many shares were bought through reinvesting the dividends. Finally, let's talk about goals. Believe it or not, I don't really like setting dividend goals for two reasons. One, dividend payouts, raises, and cuts are beyond my control. I'll do what I can to buy the best companies that raise dividends every year, but that's not a given. Second, as explained in my individual stock portion, I prefer to use options to initiate positions at a lower cost basis. This means that by the time I actually buy the stock, I may have missed earlier dividend payments, similar to how I only received one dividend payment this year for both Clorox and 3M. That said, I do have two goals for my dividend portfolio that are within my control. First, to allocate at least $30,000 towards the purchase of quality dividend-paying stocks. Second, to diversify against my current stock holdings. That means avoiding direct competitors like Colgate, Procter & Gamble, or CVS, unless they really sell off and provide a great buying opportunity. Some sectors I'm considering are healthcare and pharma like Johnson & Johnson or AbbVie, F&B options like McDonald's or Starbucks, or even tech like Apple or Microsoft. These aren't recommendations, just examples of the categories and companies that don't overlap and will provide me with some more diversification. I will of course update any purchases here as well as on my social channels, so be sure to follow at least one of these sources. That's it for this video. I will be back with a regular portfolio update at the weekend. Until then, take care, invest safely.